Hello, we're live.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Mom.
Hey, Mom. So today, me and Elias decided we would talk about social media and do a little podcast about that.
Yeah, why not?
So, social media, is it good? Is it bad? Is that what we're going to discuss?
Yeah, good, bad impacts on people, their minds, the way they think, the way they perceive
Hmm.
others, themselves.
I'm going to come out and say that it's good. I'm definitely more on the side of it being good, even though like I think there's a lot of issues with it and a lot of downsides to it.
Okay.
But my general opinion would probably be that it's on the good side of things.
On the good side of things, because.
I think the things I like the most about it is that if you go back 60, 70 years before social media existed, you meet someone very interesting, somebody that you think you could be good friends with at some point. But if maybe they move across the world, or they go to a different city, or you completely lose contact with that person. But now we live in an age where I can stay in contact with a friend in another country, in Thailand, in Copenhagen, and whatever. And if I go to Copenhagen, I have someone there I know. So that's probably one of my biggest arguments to say. And my family that I can be in touch with across the world, that's unthinkable. It's an amazing thing. So I'm more on the pro side, I think, of social media.
Okay, I do agree with that part of the issue, but I would conveniently enough fall into the more of the bad side
So what are your
and its
opinions?
effects on people. I think not everything. I think social media could have been something really great. Then again, you can't really put regulations on things just because of like free expression and whatnot.
Well, you
But I
can.
think
Like some people advocate that should be done more.
it should be done more. I think on social media, but not to a point. But then again, we fall into like another issue of like where do you stop
Hmm.
the censorship?
Hmm.
But I think it grew into something different than what was intended for it, or maybe this was intended all along. I don't know, but I feel like people see not the real person behind what that person is putting on social media, and because everyone is in control of what they put on social media, they may put something that's more happy, that's more
Hmm.
lavish, whatever it is, and then people see this and think that this is real life and then compare it to themselves and their own lives, and then they just get either they get obsessed to reach these goals that they may never reach in their lifetimes, or they just get obsessed about themselves, like body image issues, and why is my life not like this influencer's life.
Hmm. Yeah. So
It's stuff
in
like
other
that.
words, people compare themselves a lot, and you give people access to social media. You give them access to all these images that are very almost unrealistic to attain,
Yeah,
because the person who has that image, it's just a snapshot in time,
exactly, of their
edited with
life.
Photoshop and
Yeah.
whatnot. Yeah, I know. I agree. I agree. It's a downside, but I don't think anyone would argue that we should eliminate social media.
I don't think we should eliminate it. I think we should have just like big companies using the, because the platform is great for like publicity and like all that stuff. I think big companies and big corporations have a use for social media to get in touch with
Hmm.
the consumers and whatnot, and like showcase their brand and whatever. But I think that normal people like me and you should have limited access to social media, for
Hmm.
example, and maybe just for the purposes of,
Mental health, you'd say.
yeah, like more mental health and just like connecting with people.
Well, like take gambling for example. Gambling is a very risky behavior for some people. Some people fall into gambling addictions, while many people just go and they gamble at the casino. Or drinking alcohol. It has potential dangerous effects, but we tolerate it and we kind of put an age limit on these things. Um, so, would you ban social media from all the human population, or would you restrain it to people under 18, for example?
I couldn't put an age limitation on social media. I mean, yes, like you shouldn't be like 7 and on Twitter or like on Instagram and like posting pictures of yourselves. But the difference with like alcohol and cigarettes and drug use and whatever and gambling is that these things cost money. Social media doesn't. It's like readily accessible to anyone who has a phone. And nowadays, everyone.
Oh, phones cost money, right?
Yeah, but like everyone has access to a phone or like a computer.
Okay,
or...
take pornography. There's an 18 and over limit on
yeah,
these
but
websites.
Everyone just clicks yes, right?
Right. So you would put like a hard limit and say nobody can access social media.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. It's good for companies. It's good for people, for influencers, for people that are like that have a brand and that want to get in touch with other people, and showcase that brand. Like I don't know, they're selling like coffee mugs or whatever, and they want to like showcase their coffee mugs to the world. But for me and you, I don't really see. If anything, it's giving you more ways to connect with people, but it's also killing these ways of connecting with people because then everyone knows what you're doing once they take a look at your Instagram feed, right? Or like your Facebook feed. Like there's no mystery. There's no like, oh, what did you do last week? What did you do? And then people complain that there's always small talk between them and like their coworkers or like their acquaintances or friends.
Right.
It's killing this because like you don't have anything else to say. Like I saw you go on that trip. You posted 77 stories of you swimming in the ocean. I don't have any other questions to ask you.
Like, hey, did you swim in the ocean?
Yeah, like I don't need to know. I saw you swimming in the ocean.
Fair. Like I agree that we definitely know more about each other. Like, I mean, this is always case by case. Like some people post a lot of stories, some people don't. Some people post a lot of quote unquote like fake images of themselves. Some people don't. Some people just like taking pictures of architecture on Instagram and they'll post that. So like it's case by case, obviously. But even in the worst case, like take someone who like they're always putting stories. You always know what's going on. Would you say an issue would be that you know too much about them and therefore there's nothing to ask or nothing interesting in terms of conversation to have with that person?
I don't think that like on a daily, if it's done like on a weekly thing, I don't think it has like that big of an impact. But I think like if it's done on a daily basis, it's just you're always gonna have that person in your face. You're always gonna see what they're doing. You're not gonna be more inclined to ask them how their day went, or you're just gonna ask them like or answer their stories or like reply to their stories and whatnot. I don't know what the young people do these days.
Snapchat apparently.
Snapchat or whatever.
or what's the other thing? TikTok.
TikTok, yes, another one.
I'm trying to stay hip and cool with it. Okay. Well,
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just like in the day, but the thing is, it's too easy nowadays. I feel in the days of, because we always had this, like back in our days as we're like super old. We had MySpace. We had like ways of like communicating MSN, but MSN isn't like the same thing because it's just like chatting with people. It's kind of like the new texting of 2020.
You're talking about the whole online profile culture.
Yeah, like having your wedding pictures on Instagram and like, I don't know, vacation pictures I can understand. And
can I jump in and say,
go ahead.
Out of everything that exists about you today, your social media profile is probably what's going to last the longest throughout the history of the universe.
That's true, unless you delete it. And
unless
there's a big cataclysmic event that
wipes out all
the internet.
Yeah, but that's not what's going to survive longer, the internet or us?
I don't know.
I feel like the internet would survive longer. Sure. I mean, this is my opinion, but I see what you're saying. The whole concept of having an online profile that may not be representative of you.
It's true, and then that ties in a lot with like your privacy and brands are looking at you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get in that subject because like it's a whole other that'll be for a next podcast episode.
You don't want to open Pandora's box.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but it ties in with like everything else. You gain from it, but I feel like the loss is.
So in your like, if I understand correctly, you would completely eliminate social media. If you could had a big red button that said no more social media, you would press it.
That's a really good question because, like I said, for big corporations and companies, it's a great way to get
Why
out
is
there.
that so important to you though? Like the last thing on my mind is, oh, the poor big corporations.
I mean, not big
How can I help?
corporations. It's also
I don't want to
like,
hurt them.
it's not the big corporations. I say this as a way of saying like everyone who has like a business. So it could be like small
businesses.
indie businesses too. Like to get out there,
Right.
like a coffee shop just opened. You want to know more about it. Someone.
But that's a
started
website. That's
selling-
not the same as social media. I mean, like, fine. Like,
Yeah, but
I
how
guess
how often do you search for a website nowadays?
I don't. But like, let's say someone mentions this place to me, I might Google the place, and then I'll find the place on Google, and then I'll click on their website, and then I'll look at their menu, and then I'll look at their hours and their schedule, and I'll look at a promotional video of their
That's
place,
true, but it's much easier to do it on a platform for that,
like Instagram.
like Instagram.
Fair, yeah. So, but I mean, you could say, oh, I want to eliminate social media for all people, and keep it for businesses.
Yeah, that would be.
Would you do that?
But then again, I can't do that because then that would be removing.
Freedom?
I mean, not really freedom, but like expression. Because like some people are on Instagram just to like post pictures they take of like their cats.
Yeah.
Or pictures they take of like trees, or like it's a freelance photographer. But even freelance photographer would fall into business model.
Like I would not, like this is just my position. I would not ever force somebody not to like post personal pictures of themselves online, and to be fake I think it should not be like outlawed. Like I think it's just like what happens now in 2020 versus 2010. Like people start making fun of people who are fake, or like calling them out and saying, oh my god, like Kim Kardashian's ass, no, whatever. I think every cultural movement will have a counterculture movement eventually, and that balances things out over like a century, at some point, because it's very new. We've had in social media the way it is now for like not very long.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll take a bit of time before people start like getting better and sharper at noticing, oh, when someone's not being real or not.
That's true.
But the counter argument is, oh well, like, are we just gonna go from one counterculture movement to another to another to another? And
well, I mean, it's been this way for like forever.
It's been this way forever. So yeah, maybe yes. Maybe the answer is yes. We are gonna keep going.
But then again, it also feeds into the social image that people have of themselves.
Yeah.
Like you're always seeing. Back when I was on Instagram, all I would see on my feed would be like girls dressed in like nice clothing and boys dressed in nice clothing, like modeling and for like these big companies and whatnot, and like the perfect ideal body, the perfect like life, going on vacation in Mykonos and like all that stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know, it kind of like I wouldn't really care about it, right? But to a certain extent, it's kind of like it was insidious in a way that like even when you're not thinking about it, you'd be thinking, oh, like I wish I had that body, or I would be able to.
I think it's good that you're challenged by those issues. Like I think that the fact that someone flashes their fancy car in your face, like I don't see that going away. Like we're gonna keep having fancy cars and expensive people and celebrities and rich people. Like it's good that you're challenged by this, but this stimulates you to grow your value system better and be like, is this really something I care about? I mean, this is the way I see it. I'm just like, okay, yeah, I am. Like I get personally challenged by like, oh, this person has this great body or whatnot. I wish I had a 6-pack, right? But at the same time, like, and if I feel bad about myself about that, then this is like, oh, you just stimulated me to work on this body image issue I have. I still gym and work out and everything, but I don't need to get the 6-pack to feel happier about myself.
But this is you.
That's me. But I mean, this is also my opinion. My opinion is that people can go that route and just get better, right? That we can all like use this as a way to get better.
But then see, we've grown. The thing is, like, the difference with us is that we've grown in an era where social media was kind of always after us. Like we grew up.
Like we didn't grow up in it.
Yeah, we didn't grow up in it.
Yeah, fair.
So like 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds that see this.
Yeah.
What's the impact on their mental health?
So like if we're gonna make like, see, like this brings us back to the 18 and over argument, which is like I think that I'm fine with imposing age limits on it. I don't have a problem with that. Like maybe not 18, maybe younger, 14, 15. But this is not even I don't think that should be a legal issue. I think that's just a good parenting practice would be to do that, to just like keep your kids, maybe not authoritatively, but like introduced to it in a educative way. Like, oh, here's what social media is. Here's what people tend to post. Like, be there with your kid on social media, explaining to them what's going on, answering their questions, that kind of thing. I think that's healthier than just throwing them on there because you're stressed out and you're tired, and you give them an iPad and now they're on.
Just let them go.
Now you let them scroll.
Yeah, I think it's Reddit, good. The active role that we play. I mean, not us, but parents play in social media. I feel like we're going to be a little more awake, hopefully, than our parents.
Well, like it's always a spectrum. Like, sure, we'll be better than our parents at that, maybe, of course, because our parents didn't know better. But we're going to suck at other things,
Most probably.
Which sucks, but yeah. It's like when kids were raised in tribes, if they wouldn't go out venturing in the savannah on their own, their parents would be there with them, explaining to them what mushrooms to eat and which ones not to eat, and what animal to bother and which one not to bother, and like which trees you can climb on, and oh no, this tree is gonna die, so you don't climb on it because it's gonna break, like whatever. I think it's the same with social media. Like we should just be there with our kids out there in the social media savannah, explaining to them what's what, and we can give them our opinions on things, and they can go on and make up their own opinions as they become teenagers and adults and whatnot.
What about the posts? Do you think there should be like a limit instead of like an age limit to
post?
I mean, not a limit to post, but like a sort of like censorship on what people post on social media.
So far as social media companies are privately owned, like Facebook is a privately owned company, Google is a privately owned company in my understanding. They're not part of the public domain. They're not government controlled. I think that, unfortunately, like I lean more on the side of each company has private authority on what and what not they are comfortable having shared or monetized. Like YouTube chooses to demonetize certain videos because of their political content or whatnot. Like honestly, it's YouTube's right because they are the owners of their own platform. If they're not comfortable with something, I think it is their prerogative to remove it. Now that has plenty of effects, but the flip side of this is you need to empower competition. So like, should the government make it harder for people to compete with YouTube? No, I think the government should help. Opposition. I'm more of a free market kind of person anyway. So like, I'm fine with new companies saying, "Oh, YouTube doesn't allow this. I'm going to allow it."
So you're fine with like TikTok emerging and like.
I actually don't know anything about TikTok. I haven't.
I
just know.
I think it's just like some sort of like app where you dance.
I don't know.
And you post your.
Damn, we're old.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like, I know it's about music or something.
Do you think that would be a good idea to have all these emerging like social medias that would tackle each and every, for example, like one of them would be for musicians, one of them would be for people.
You mean like Spotify?
I mean, not really like Spotify, kind of like an Instagram, but more focused. So like photographers would go.
That sounds like a hashtag to me, like hashtag photography or hashtag music. That's Instagram, but more focused. Yeah,
that's true.
That exists, right? So I can hashtag Dungeons and Dragons, and I'll come up with a bunch of D&D, anything like character sheets, images, and whatnot.
You make a fair point.
Yeah. So do we agree on social media?
I don't know. I haven't done proper research to see like what the health implications and like what the mental health of like young people in the future is going to be like.
So screen time is a big issue, like now in health. Like for example,
and we're seeing all these companies like coming out with like Apple and their like screen time to like reduce your usage of your phone. I'm pretty sure Google also has like a screen time feature.
Yeah, I think it's very smart on their part to be like, hey, let's be the saviors of the world rather than the the destroyers of the world. Like let's market ourselves as, oh, we're helping you reduce your screen time, rather than, oh,
We're selling you this device, but we're also helping you reduce your screen time.
yeah,
on that
we're also
device.
helping you not use your device as much. Like I think it works really well for marketing for them, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, screen time, like the issues with screen time is, I think they're twofold. I think number one, the more time you spend on your screen, the less time you spend moving. It's just like a correlation. So like the more time you spend moving, the healthier you are. And like especially when you're a child and you're learning to develop your motor system and you're learning to develop your cognition and your social system. Like screen time is not the same as face-to-face social contact.
It's horrible.
Or community life, or or living within a tribe, or all that stuff, or moving through social circles. Like these are not things you're doing on your screen. You find you can do them through Facebook, but you're not activating all those primal networks in your brain that like we evolved to have, and you're failing to develop those parts of your brain.
I don't think we can evolve this quickly to develop them in other ways and like reconnect those.
I think they do, but you're gangly and awkward. Like this is the way I think like people who spend a lot of time playing video games or in front of screens, when they enter the social world, they're much weirder. I think it's just because they haven't spent as much time in the social world, and they missed out on those prime opportunity windows in their life to develop that. I still think it can be developed afterwards. Like it's never too late. I really don't believe it's ever too late. It's just harder and takes longer, and it's gonna suck because you're not a kid anymore. You're not cute anymore. If you say something really awkward at the dinner table,
no one's gonna tell you that. I mean, you're just gonna deal with the consequences right away.
As opposed to if you're 5, people are just gonna laugh, and then you're gonna realize it's weird, Yeah.
So would you also impose kind of like social media a certain like age limit for like devices, electronic devices?
I would not make it part of the law, but I would make it part of parenting guidelines, which it is currently. Like in medicine, like if we have a parent in front of us, one of the things we screen for is how many hours is the kid on the screen per day. And then, this many hours. Okay, let's aim for this many hours next time, and let's see how that goes. And then hopefully that's being done, right? So I'm fine with that. I'm fine with, hey, that's just good parenting, and bad parenting would be to leave the kid in front of the TV all day. So I would stop there, but I wouldn't impose it into law to say, hey, you're not allowed to put your kids in front of the TV. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, because then how are you gonna monitor that anyways? Like
you could just not have a TV in your
that could work too. I mean, to a certain extent. When were you? I had this in my mind. Like when were you exposed to like social media for the first time?
I mean, it's weird. Like I started with MSN.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if for me that counts as social media. But then Facebook started existing, and
2008, I think, something like that.
Yeah, and there was there was MySpace, and there was some other website too where you could put.
But MySpace is like different. I feel I have a different opinion on MySpace, just because you put so much energy into. It's like a blog, kind of. So like you're giving your opinions instead of being fake, quote unquote, on Instagram. Like it's so easy to just take like a selfie or like 7,000 selfies and then post the one that looks nice. Mm-hmm. MySpace was more of like kind of like a new Tumblr.
But Instagram is like it's become, because it's so visual, it's become like a dating tool almost. Like you upload your pictures there, and you hope that people are find you attractive. And I think like I'm fine with that, it being that for some people. Like it doesn't bother me. Like I feel like it's just like it sucks for you if you're spending that much time on that. But if that's your best bet or your best shot at finding someone that you like and that likes you and that maybe you're gonna have good chemistry with, then go for it. And like if that helps you.
But then doesn't that defeat the purpose
of what?
Like you start worrying more and more about like how you look on the outside and less about the chemistry you have with someone. I mean, I get it. We are all like physical beings, and this is the first way we have of like judging someone, and that's not going to change because we have two eyes, and
that's. But what's going to happen? Works. So like, let's say I'm a very attractive girl, and I work really hard to be even more attractive.
Or
And
a very attractive boy. Let's be gender neutral.
sure. But like, let's say I'm a girl, just for example's sake, and then I'm posting a lot of selfies, and then I get a guy who's interested, and he messages me, he answers one of my stories or whatnot, and then we start a conversation, and it's going well. If I put all of these skill points into being attractive, then my charisma points are going to be much lower, just because I didn't have as much time as other people. I didn't have as much time as other people to be sociable, go out, and learn skills like empathy, and learn all these other social skills that are super important too. I go on a date with this guy, and maybe one date goes well, 2 dates go well, but a week in, 2 weeks in, those things start coming out. Those weaknesses in my character sheet, and then if I have all these weaknesses, then the date's not going to go well. And then, all of a sudden, I've hit a speed bump. And now I need to work on that. If I don't work on that, I'm going to suffer because I'm not going to be able to keep my dates. Things are not going to go well. So I think that's just like, it self-regulates itself. It's like, if I put all this effort into my appearance, I'm going to suffer. And if I suffer, I want to work on it. People want to work on their things when they suffer. Or when they're not suffering, when they're not having any consequences, they don't think about working on it. So like, personally, like, I think the least work I have to do, or like, if I was like, I don't know, a government or whatnot, the least work, the better. If something self-regulates itself, let it self-regulate itself. I feel like that's what's going to happen, but I don't know.
I mean, we'll see. It's still very young. Instagram has been around since like 2012, I think.
Yeah.
So that's like 8 years. I feel like that's not enough for like clinical research.
Yeah, I think one thing that does scare me is, however, like the data that they're gathering about us, and let's say like you want to run for president.
Yeah, like the privacy issue that runs very deep in those.
Yeah, like Google would know everything about you. So let's say I'm a huge mafia boss. I corner one of Google's, I don't know, like high executives, and I say, I'm going to kill your whole family unless you give me all the data on this presidential candidate. Now I have all the data on that presidential candidate. Now I have complete knowledge of like maybe where this person lives, what they do, what they say to their wife, like everything. And I can completely control this presidential candidate. So all of a sudden, it creates this whole black market of information, which like the public doesn't have access to. And people, a lot of money could potentially threaten people and get information from there.
That I agree completely with you, and it's also the fact that this information is not deletable.
Yeah.
In like, Google gives you now the opportunity to delete some of that information, but none of it is really relevant, like your history or what videos you check on YouTube. Like, I don't really care about that, Yes, maybe I do for like privacy.
Yeah, but every single one of your conversations can be heard.
Yeah.
By Google,
if
they want to, or even this, espionage agencies, they have access to it.
Yeah, and then the data, where does it go? Where is it stored? Does it get deleted? Not really.
No.
Does it? Yeah. So that's
why would it? Like,
exactly.
If you were in charge, why would you ever delete this data? Like, it makes no sense from a selfish point of view. So I think it's a big issue. I think like, from a political point of view, more transparency would be like pleasant. If we had more information on how this functioned, what are the check systems in place, who's in charge of this, and
they should really simplify the process of so like what kind of information you're sharing with them. I really like how Google is kind of starting to tackle the issue. Facebook, I don't know about it. I don't want to start like a political war, and this is like my opinion about things. I don't know about like how Facebook is like working on the issues, and like Instagram, I feel like these two are like the worst in the data collection part amongst like Google. I feel like Apple is also not that good, but is starting to showcase like an easier way of dealing with privacy. Like, I get a prompt telling me that this app is going to use my location, for example.
Yeah.
And like, do you want to let it? And I get it like every
I'm just
time
concerned about like, is this just for show? Like, how do I know for real that they're respecting this? Like,
I mean, how do you know for real that they put 100% of vitamin C, of the daily value of vitamin C in your orange juice?
Because the FDA is there to make sure.
Well, they also have like regulations for like electronic devices and like
Do they? I just
stuff like that.
I feel like
You
that's,
have to accept, right? I'd like to the thing like we never read.
yeah, they know we don't read them.
Yeah, I mean,
they know we don't read them.
I think we really should. I think we should like sit down one day and just like read the 70
But you and I
pages of,
both
like...
know we're never gonna do that. But that's part of their
But
game.
this is why I like Apple's take on it, because they don't make you read these big user agreements. They just give you like prompts for like every single little thing.
Fair.
It's annoying.
I know you're an Apple
But-
flag boy. I know you're a huge fan of Apple. You know,
Google started doing it as well,
Uh-huh.
and I like that about them.
that's fine.
But I don't know where the data is going for Facebook and Instagram.
But like, okay, fine. Like,
And these are more problematic. This is more problematic. Like, I don't really mind that like a company has my location, like I'm at your house today. I don't care if Apple knows I'm at your house today. But
I
like
care.
Instagram.
I don't want them to know. There's a secret meeting right now going on.
They're listening to us anyways.
Motherfuckers. Jesus Christ.
I think like for Instagram and Facebook, where you post pictures of yourselves and just your life and what you're doing and all the ads that get targeted to you, I think this is more an issue for social media than it is for... It is also an issue for like text messages and like what I say to Siri when I wake up in the morning, or like stuff
Good morning,
like that.
hopefully. What do you say to Siri in the morning?
No, but I mean, I heard about this. I read this on a website, and it said that before they started giving you these prompts of like your voice might be sent to like servers where people are actually listening, some people were... The people working in the server were listening to when people would accidentally say, "Hey Siri," and then it would just like pop up. And sometimes Siri isn't as accurate, or like Alexa or Google Home aren't as accurate, and they just get prompted like that. And some people were having like private discussions, or were just like having an intimate moment, and the people on the back end on the servers were listening to this because the voice assistant was inaccurate and started recording and
Surprise, surprise, of course.
Yeah.
So, and like human nature, if you're on the back end and you have access to all these private conversations, you're gonna listen.
Yeah.
Like, it just is what it is. But do we have a governmental agency who ensures they don't? Do they get audited? Do we have systems in place to protect user privacy? No, I don't think so.
I think they should, like you said, I think the governments should get involved and put some sort of... I mean, I get why we have to listen to these conversations. I get why people have to listen to these conversations, but I feel like on the end user, there should be a way to mask that person, for example. Like, you get it and the voice is modulated, for example.
Oh, that's not bad.
You don't know from which device it's coming from, for example. Like, kind of like...
Sure.
Just like masking the signal that you get.
I mean, it comes back down to this: whether it's Darth Vader's voice that's doing like my argument with my girlfriend, or whether it's my voice. These people are never going to meet me anyway, so it doesn't change anything whether it's Darth Vader or my voice. But like, fair.
It's true, but you know, like machine learning isn't that far as to let us have a voice assistant that like knows exactly what I'm asking of it. And this is why like people are training listening to these to these things to like, okay,
to better respond to what questions Siri's getting.
So maybe one day we'll have... I know that the facial unlock and like the fingerprint unlock on like cell phones is done in device. Maybe we'll get so like that data never goes out of your phone to the servers of like Apple or Google or whatever. I feel like one day we may get, and I think it's starting right now, like artificial intelligence like on device. So it wouldn't have to like get out of that device to the servers.
That's interesting.
I don't know how far we've come in that department, but I know they're working on something like this. I don't know if all companies are working on something like this, but I know that some are taking this very seriously.
Yeah, no.
As they should. Like, it's your privacy, you know? Like, I don't want people to be listening to my conversations if I wrongly activate my voice assistant. Not that I'm saying anything important, but it's just
there's a lot of things to figure out, and I feel like in the long term it's very difficult. It's just so difficult, like, and it's so disconnected from us. Like, we have no power over this. Like we're never going to change anything unless we become politicians. You have no power to change any of this. So
Well, I mean, as a user, you can deactivate some of the features if you really want to like rampage against this sort
rage
of
against the system.
yeah, rage against the system. You can just
Rage against the
deactivate.
machine. Yeah, fair enough. That's true.
But then you
good
don't get
argument.
the perks of. I don't know if you can count them as perks. Some people
It's just
do.
now we're talking about like technology hygiene, like being good at knowing what to deactivate. Well, not like it's so much overhead, like technology was supposed to make our lives simpler. That was like that was the catch. That was the thing that got us excited about technology. It's like, oh my god, my life's gonna be so easy now. I have this new gadget that can let me do whatever. But now you're realizing that it comes with STDs. There's all kinds of other diseases involved here with things that you need to deactivate, things you need to learn. Like think about the classic thing. Like as soon as an old person might get an email, they'll get all these spam emails from Nigerian princes, and they'll give them all their money. So yeah, technology is good, but then with all new advance comes new ways to be exploited.
There was a TED talk about this.
Actually answering, I saw it. Yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a good thing to link our listeners to. It was really fun.
It's just it's so hard to always keep getting better. I think at some point
But I get that. It's like when we discovered fire, right? It had the potential of like lighting our way. It had the potential of cooking our meals.
and burning our hands.
I feel like the more we complicate things, the more complications and consequences we're going to deal with.
But in that tribe that discovered fire, I don't think it's up to the 50-year-old to learn to master the fire. I think it's the 15, 16-year-olds who should be mastering the fire. When you're 50, at some point you have to stop.
I don't agree. I think everyone should be having like an active role.
Because like I just learned okay, let's say I learned how to deactivate all my AI stuff and all my like spying stuff. I deactivated, great. But then the new technology comes along. 2 years later I gotta learn a whole new set of things now. Like I can't even enjoy my deactivated internet. Because now I gotta deal with a new thing to learn and a new thing to learn. Right?
Yeah, but then again, in the vision of that fire and the 50-year-old trying to like learn about that fire, it is true that the 20 years old are going to be more inclined to like complicate things with the fire and like figure out new ways to use it, but they won't be able to use past experience and apply it to the fire because the 50-year-old lived some things
so
that he can now apply to the fire.
So the 50-year-old's job is to raise the 20-year-old.
Yeah.
And to imbue into the 20-year-old all of their wisdom. But then the 20-year-old's job is to
use that wisdom
and learn to apply it to the new problems of that day, right? Like we read great books of ancient philosophers and writers of the 18th century and whatnot. Like these people, they never had to tackle the problems we have to tackle today. They had their own problems and they learned from them. And then whatever they learned, they put in books, and whatever books we read, we use that knowledge and it becomes pop knowledge and whatever. And here we are now with that knowledge, but it was from a different time. It's our job now to apply it to what we've got today and to give that to the next generation. That's our job, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
But it's, so like, I'm getting older. I'm 25 now, but like still, like I feel like for us, we're living in a time where Moore's law is like so skyrocketing, where every year technology changes at a rapid pace, and it's just hard to keep up. It's really hard to keep up.
So you think it's not the company's jobs to monitor this, but rather our jobs to use the technology they're providing us with
wisdom?
Yeah,
I think that the government is an extension of us, and that a functional democracy should put in place governments that hold in check these companies. Now, corruption comes into play where companies can lobby and fund political campaigns and put in office certain politicians that agree with their ideology. And the problem with that is that we lose that control to reign in the companies, and all of a sudden we're expecting the companies to control themselves. That makes no sense. It's the government's job to put laws, right? It's like anything else. Like we don't expect, I don't know, we don't expect the butcher to not, I don't know, like sell us rotten meat. We expect the government to
To
make sure
monitor
the
them, yeah.
butchers can't sell this rotten meat, and if they
Yeah.
do, they'll close down, right? So I don't see why it's any different from internet companies. The only issue is they make more money than butchers do, and they can influence the government. So, but yeah, again, like the problem is we don't have direct control over, putting in place a government that's not corrupt. We have indirect control by voting, I guess, and by like participating in the political process. But yeah,
But then we have to get people involved, and we all know how uninvolved our generation is in politics. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
I actually have no problem with people being uninvolved as long as they don't vote. If you're not involved, don't vote. I don't believe in people voting randomly, willy nilly, off the cuff. They don't know anything about politics. They go and they vote for whoever they think has a nice face. Like, don't vote if you really don't know what the hell's going on. Don't vote. But if you do know what's going on, go out, vote. And then you'll have. I'd rather have intelligent, informed people out there voting, and then those people who are actually involved in politics, those people can form an opinion amongst themselves, debate amongst themselves, and form a political community that makes the decisions. But everyone who doesn't want to make decisions, then don't get involved.
Or don't let other people's opinion influence your choice in making. I've seen a lot of this, like the family, my dad and my mom are voting, for example, like for liberal. So all the kids are expected to vote in
Liberal?
that same, yeah.
Really?
I mean, not really. I mean, I'm not talking about like myself, but like I've seen this in
Families are
some
like that?
families are like that, yeah.
Yeah. I think that. Politics is just like a tense issue for people. It's very difficult to talk about politics, and most people don't like talking about politics. Like at the parties I've been to, like people will talk about it, but it makes people uncomfortable with a good reason. I think. Like I have friends whose political beliefs I strongly disagree with, but we're still friends. We just don't debate that often because we know we're just gonna end up like mad at each other by the end of the debate.
But I feel like that's good. I feel like that's what pushes things forward. Like we're so scared, especially like in 2020, you can't say anything without fearing of offending someone. And I feel like we're losing a lot of like we're not making ground progress because of this.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I just don't like. It's always about consent. Like I don't want to have a non-consensual political conversation.
Yeah,
with
no,
someone.
for sure. Like,
And I often am. Like I'll often say, "Oh, hey, like there's this politician I'm excited about," and I'll bring this person up, and then people will be like, "Oh, okay," and I read on their face they're not like excited to talk about this. They'd rather talk about something else. So I'll talk about something else. I'm not going to be like, "Hey, no, do you have a minute to talk about this?" I'm not, that's not.
do you have a Lord?
You want to talk about the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Yeah. That's the thing with politics. But I think politics is very related to big data and regulation, like regulations.
I mean, everything falls in the same vein almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but in terms of, to come back to mental health, is social media bad for mental health? I think yes. But I don't think the law. See, like when it comes to health, I don't think the law is the solution. I think like we have powerful campaigns that help us raise awareness. That's great, but I don't want to mandate people. I used to be more like, oh, we should mandate people to not eat sugar or something. But like, what's the point?
People are gonna
they're just gonna die of something else then.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
What's the big deal? Like, let people die the way they want to die. And that's fine. But we should raise awareness. We shouldn't make arguments for it, and health should be a choice. People should choose to be healthy, and we should help. I think the law should support efforts to make it easier for people to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
An example was more bike paths in cities, stuff like that, or reduce the need for cars by increasing walkways, and I don't know what, like stuff like that. I think it's good.
I also feel like it's a lack of interest in activities that also leads to like a surge in social media use, just because like people have more free time or seem to have more free time,
Mm-hmm.
or this is just like an easier way to escape
Mm-hmm.
their responsibilities, especially for like younger people that go to school. Like we didn't really live with this, or like to some extent we did, but like we didn't have our phones, in school. Like we had to go all the way back home, open the computer, hope no one was going to use the phone for like 3 hours, and then we could go on MSN.
Yeah, there was barriers to entry.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now there's no more barriers to
Exactly.
entry.
Like some kids have their phones like in class and are texting all day long.
Yeah, so it makes it harder to, it makes it just easier for people to use, so people are going to use it more. Another issue is that a company is incentivized to create addictive patterns in their,
I also feel like companies
apps.
have to be more transparent about this.
I think companies, yeah, like, so here's the thing. So where I'm more willing to accept law would be to say, hey, like the same way that tobacco is addictive, creating little red bubbles on blue backgrounds and stuff like that, like Facebook does, that just triggers like our, the notification thing. It's addictive, like the news feed is addictive. It's made in an addictive way.
Yeah, 100%. Like sometimes and even it affects even people who aren't really into these things. Like sometimes I'll wake up 2 days later, no notifications. I'll be like, why is no one talking to me?
Yeah.
Like some sort of, and then I'm just like, whatever. Like I don't.
It's because we all hate you.
Tell me something I don't know.
Just waiting for this moment to announce it to you. Actually, so in terms of the addictiveness, again, similar to alcohol, similar to tobacco, similar to
the Instagram download should come with like a picture of like a rotting brain or something.
Maybe I'm not against that, but at the very least, treat it as any other addiction. Create strong rehab programs. People who want to quit social media and who are addicted, they should be able to get help. Create strong information campaigns about social media addiction.
It shouldn't be set aside like it is right now. Like sometimes you just hear like, oh yeah, it's just.
Yeah, like quitting.
It's fine. Yeah,
quitting should be easy. Like no. It's an addiction just like anything else. Addictions should be treated. That's it. Period. Let's move on. Let's do the work that needs to be done, and that's it. And like just like drink responsibly, social media responsibly. I think like I'm fine. That's my position on it.
Because it is, I'm going to agree with you on the first, when we first started, that you said it's a very good tool. I feel like it's an amazing tool for people to connect, to get to know new things, to get information on things they like, to research more effectively. Like we've never had this before.
Yeah.
We've never had a platform where it was so easy to research information and like learn about things.
And a lot of good has come out of that.
Yeah.
Well, we were able to rally so many more causes because of that. We've been able to donate money to people across the world for different reasons. The Australia fires, we can donate money for relief so much easier than back in the day.
Do you think it's because it's had such a rapid surge in the number of users that we're kind of lost in how to use it, or is it because it's just like
that there's issues? You mean?
Like such a new.
I think it's because it's new, and like let's say we started a new sport, you and I, and we decided to make a sport where we throw a ball and then we shoot it with a gun, and then whoever can do the most of those. As soon as we start competing, then we're gonna notice some problems. Like, oh wait, what's the rule if this happens? Or I realized that I found a loophole in the system. I could just do this, and I score way more than you, and it defeats the initial purpose. And we're going to come with a bunch of issues. And then as soon as those issues come up, we address them. And then that's how we create rules for that sport. Similarly, I think social media is functioning the same way, where like the pendulum swings one way, we notice the issues, we address them, we create a counterculture, we start calling things out, and we start basically hating on things that are bad. I'm not against hating. I think hating is great.
I mean, I'm not against hating. I'm kind of against this new like cancel culture that's going on like social media. It's some sort of movement that as soon as you make one mistake or do something that people don't like or have an opinion that's different from the masses, you get canceled.
What does that cancel mean?
You just your career is over basically.
Oh, really?
In like your social media career, your social media image, and everything is.
What
over.
Social media career? Like if you're an influencer?
Yeah, like some sort of like.
Do people actually not like you if you do?
I mean, it's been going around like on YouTube for a while now, especially with like big vloggers and whatnot.
So if they do something,
If they do something bad, or like,
I mean, look
if
here.
if there's like drama, or like,
I don't know. Here's the thing. Let's say that like it comes out that I really, really enjoy Michael Bublé music, and most people don't, and most people think that's really weird of me, and then people want
you're gonna get canceled.
yeah, then good.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to be connected to less people who don't like me because I like Michael Bublé music.
Yeah, but then
And you just end up with a bunch of genuine followers.
the issue with that is that most people just fall into the trend and then start canceling you just because everyone else is canceling
Well,
you.
then they're going to cancel everybody, and then they're going to end up with no more people that they're following. And then they're going to learn that they can't just cancel everybody, and they should pay a little more attention before canceling someone. See the pendulum swing? Like, I mean, this is just my opinion. Like, I think, hey,
I do agree.
here's the reason I don't have to worry about this. You know?
Yeah. Do you think it's as soon as like the novelty of social media fades away, it's gonna be more regulated in some ways, or is it just kind of like when the first person made, like, I don't know, whiskey or alcohol? Probably everyone was drinking it.
Yeah, yeah. And
like
then
cigarettes, everyone was smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
And nowadays we're seeing like a movement of like, no, you shouldn't be smoking. It's not good for your health.
Yeah.
Which could also be a novelty.
Like would you feed your kids rat poison? Like, maybe not in doses not high enough to kill them, but would you ever do it in a way that like they wouldn't die right away, but maybe at a younger age, maybe they'll die at 40 or something? You just give them a small dose every day. Would you ever do that? No. Okay, in the same way, I think I'd like to hope that one day parents see social media in the same way for kids, that it's kind of like a small dose of rat poison every day, that like in the long term it poisons your kid and you just don't give it to them, you know. And then, you know, if they accidentally ingest it, then no big deal, you know, whatever. Maybe rat poison, the example is falling apart at this point, but like my point being that like I'd like to hope that the problem will fix itself in that way. It's just that parents will be scared at even giving their kids social media because of the issues that comes with it. I like to hope that that's where the point of control will happen. Like, no one gives their kids rat poison because we know what happens. No one gives their kids cocaine, and most people don't. And if they do, they'll get called by the DYP. You know, they'll get their fingers slapped, type of thing. So I'd like to hope that that's what happens. But there's other arguments. People could say, hey, no, like it should be treated like alcohol, and alcohol is illegal under 18. Social media should be illegal under 18. You know, if people argue that, I think that's a whole other debate about drawing the line at 18, mm-hmm. things like that. Maybe.
When is it appropriate for people to start using social media?
Yeah, I'm not like entirely against the idea, but you know, I think conversations need to be had about it, and then decisions need to be made.
It's a very touchy subject, especially because it comes at a very heavy price for people's, not only their mental health, but also their freedom of expression too. Like, if you remove something that you now view as like a requirement to be relevant in a society, mm-hmm. what does that entail on your mental health on the long term?
Like, if you remove something that you see as a requirement to be relevant, so like you're saying, if I'm a kid and I'm the only one who doesn't have social media and all my friends have social media, mm-hmm. and then I feel like I'm not like part of that culture.
I'm not part of that culture.
Fair. Like, I mean, like, again, this comes back to the case by case thing. If I see it's causing my kid issues that they're not on social media, then I probably would give them access just to be part of their normal culture, or I would change them schools if that was an option. But you know, you have to do a case by case. You know, in that situation, social media, there's not enough of it. In this situation, there's too much of it. You know, and then you dose response, and it's like a cocktail. And every time you got to come up with the right ingredients. Right, but it's just a question of observing. Oh, does this person need more of it or less of it? Probably less of it. Okay. Oh, does this person need more or less of it? Probably more of it. I think my grandma could use more social media because she's often, you know, she has people she'd like to speak to. Maybe she can use an iPad and have conversations with her friends who also have iPads.
And family who also happen to. Yeah, no, I do agree with you. I do agree that it has its good. And I think we both agree on the fact, even if we disagree on some of the aspects of social media, I think we do agree on the fact that we ourselves and maybe parents and regulators, if I can say it like that, should have a more active role in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think parents should be parents more than they should be income makers.
Mm-hmm.
I think like especially in America, we have this culture of parents making bread, like bringing in money to the household, but the parenting part of it has kind of gone to the wayside. Not in every family, but I think in lots of families, parents are just like, they think it's enough to just feed their kids and give them good clothes and good school and all that, but parenting is also important. You have to be good at that.
Parenting is, there's a lot of variables at play in there, because maybe they don't have time, and with the rise of technology, it's just easier to give your kid a phone or like an iPad and just like
you will pay the price.
You will pay the price.
You will pay the price in the long term.
But it's also people don't seem to. Also, that's why we should raise awareness about it.
Yeah.
So that everyone has access to like the proper information.
Parenting is a skill, just like baseball or like driving a car. It's just like you got to practice it and you got to do it.
The only problem with this this skill is that, as opposed to like way back in time where natural selection would take care of bad examples of this skill or bad representations of this skill, nowadays the problems are more long term. So they stay in.
You're saying because bad parents don't die out and maybe their kids don't die out. No, exactly. No, so but they are more likely to have mental illness. And mental illness.
But then that poses another, more of a pressure. Like if we keep not being active in this role, it's going to put a pressure on the rest of society to care for these people.
Yeah, no, I agree. But like we also live in the richest society, the most wealth that we've ever had in history. It's just a question of distributing that wealth adequately
and equally and adequately.
Look, like no one is ever going to say we should prevent people with good parenting to have kids. I mean, some people will actually, but I don't know. That's just not my position right now. So if we just set that aside and look at other options, I think like community education is a great thing. I think societal education, parenting workshops, free parenting workshops. I think building child care communities, child care centers where parents can drop off their kids and they have free daycare and the parents have workshops there to help them deal with their problems, family therapy, like all these things, they prevent many downstream issues that will cost the healthcare system a lot in the long term. And they just create a healthier society because a healthy family can be better friends to their friends, and it causes good ripple effects. Now it's just a question of making that cost effective in the long term, but I think there's a lot of potential.
I do agree with the community thing you mentioned. I think it would be good if students or young people had classes about like social media, just like we had sex ed at school.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
Just because like I know for a fact that like not all families and not all parents are going to have time to give the proper education to their kids about this particular topic. Like some parents work like 24/7 just because they don't have the means to provide for their family.
Yeah, but I mean some parents work 24/7 to send their kids to private school.
Yeah. Then again, it's like
well, hello.
Where's your priorities?
Yeah.
But then again, we can't control everyone. So I feel like it's a good idea that you had like the community thing, and just like having like workshops and whatnot.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen a workshop on social media yet, but hopefully.
Yeah. No. I mean, unfortunately, like the education system, I haven't been involved in the education. I know education in 2020 is not the same it was when we were kids. So my friends who are teachers, I see what they're teaching and what they're like. They're different than what we received. But yeah, hopefully in the long term it changes and things get better. Good podcast.
Yeah, great podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
Please donate.
Mom.
Donate.
Please donate.
Donate to our Patreon, please.
Yes.
And
please.
Share on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, why not?